A man, with tears, poured a bottle of DDV, trying to protect his son's body at the bottom of the cliff. But unexpectedly, as soon as they left, a vulture smelled the blood and flew over. Seeing the delicious meal, the vulture immediately started devouring it. Unexpectedly, intense pain woke the boy instantly. He grabbed the vulture's neck and threw it down. Just when he thought the crisis was solved, the boy found himself on a 10,000-meter cliff. He was trapped on the cliff face, unable to move. The desperate boy screamed in fear. However, this desolate place had no one. Realizing he'd starved to death, he had an idea. So the boy had a bold idea. He carefully climbed down. But the 90-degree cliff was too steep. The boy slipped, almost falling. Luckily, he grabbed a crevice, saving his life. But his situation was not optimistic. He was suspended 10,000 meters high. Worse, the weather suddenly changed. As the pouring rain kept coming, the cliff face became increasingly slippery. Terrifyingly, the boy's strength was also exhausted. He tried to jump down, but it was too high. He knew if he didn't jump, only death awaited. Finally, he mustered courage and leaped. The next day, the boy woke up in the mud. He struggled to get up. One of his legs was already immobile. He laboriously crawled to a puddle. He drank a mouthful of 20,000-year-old water. He also found a worm. After eating and drinking, he pulled his right foot out of his boot. His entire foot was swollen and bruised. It looked very serious. The boy brought 2 stones to prop up his foot. With a grit of teeth, he set the bone with a crunch. Then he found a stick to fix his ankle. He made himself a simple splint. A moment later, the boy set off. He walked a very, very long way. Finally, he reached the top of the cliff. At the cliff edge, he found the tombstone his father had erected for him. It turned out his father was the tribal leader. After he fell off the cliff that day, everyone thought he was dead. Only his father called for him at the cliff edge all night. But for the tribe's safety, his father had to lead the tribe back, because there were women and children to care for. Learning his father had left, he lay helplessly on the ground. Suddenly, a wolf howl reached his ears. He looked up. A pack of wolves was approaching him. He limped in the opposite direction. But the wolves were too fast. Soon he was caught. He tried to climb a tree, but a fierce wolf bit his ankle. In a moment of crisis, Koda stabbed the wolf with his dagger. He escaped danger and climbed onto the tree. But the wolves refused to leave. At night, they howled at the full moon. Koda fell into a deep sleep amidst the howls. After some time, the wolves finally left. Only the injured wolf remained. Koda tied his knife to a stick, making a spear. Then he slowly walked towards the wolf. He raised his weapon, ready to kill it. But when the wolf slowly opened its eyes and let out a mournful whimper, Koda hesitated. Although his father had taught him to kill countless times, he had never succeeded. This time was no different. He untied the rope from his weapon. Then he used the rope to bind the wolf's mouth. Koda carried the wolf to the river. Patiently, he cleaned its wound. That night, Koda and the wolf rested in a cave. When he woke up the next day, he found the wolf staring fiercely at him. Koda didn't mind. He went outside to gather some herbs. He crushed them and applied them to his foot. While he was doing this, the wolf pulled off the rope from its mouth. It bared its teeth at Koda. But Koda put water to the wolf's mouth. The wolf drank greedily. What they needed most now was food. But winter had arrived. There was almost nothing else except some insects. He first sprinkled insects on the wolf's wound, then gave some to the wolf, and finally took the last few for himself. This wouldn't do forever. Koda mustered courage and killed a wild rabbit. Then he started rubbing sticks to make fire. The wolf, smelling the meat, immediately came closer, but Koda drove it away. He glared at the wolf and bit into raw meat, but he still wanted cooked meat. With persistent effort, he lit a flame. Koda enjoyed his meal as he wished. He threw the remaining meat and bones to the wolf. That night, Koda wanted to bond with the wolf, but it still bared its teeth. So man and wolf gazed at the stars. Gradually, Koda began to miss home. Although he didn't know where his parents were, he had to try soon, because the sacred path home would soon be covered in snow. The next day, he wanted to say goodbye to the wolf. But the wolf bit his scarf and wouldn't let go. He thanked the wolf for its companionship, telling it to return to its pack. But as soon as he left, the wolf followed. He kept trying to drive it away, throwing sticks. But the wolf picked them up and kept following. With the wolf by his side, Koda no longer worried about food. Even though his hunting skills were terrible, the wolf was a master hunter. Koda named the wolf Alpha. Every day he shared cooked food with Alpha. Thus, the first dog in human history was born. In the middle of the night, the fire went out. Alpha saw Koda shivering from the cold, so he came close and warmed Koda with his body. The next morning, Koda was licked awake by Alpha. Happy, he then noticed Alpha smelled terrible. So Alpha was thrown into the river. To thank Koda, he forced himself to bathe. He also caught a fish as a thank you gift. Man and wolf became each other's best companions. In winter, Alpha drove prey, and Koda delivered the fatal blow. Their coordination grew more seamless. But one night, a black wolf entered their territory. Koda immediately grabbed his spear, but Alpha calmly walked over. Koda looked closely and realized it was Alpha's mate, who had followed the scent. Facing Alpha's questioning gaze, Koda decided to let him return to his pack. Without Alpha, Koda had to continue alone. But one day, while crossing an icy river, he accidentally stepped on thin ice and fell in. The rushing water swept Koda away. No matter how he hit it, he couldn't find another exit. Just then, Alpha appeared. He scratched a few times, but it didn't work. He jumped high, trying to break the ice surface. It was no use. Then Koda pulled out his dagger, constantly chiseling the ice. Finally, he broke a thin piece of ice, allowing him to escape the water. Alpha quickly came to help. Then Koda lit a fire, took off his wet clothes, and hugged Alpha for warmth in the snow. One cannot help but admire the physical endurance of primitives. This time, Alpha didn't leave. He continued to accompany Koda. Soon after, they found a camp. Koda ran towards it, but when he got closer, he realized the hunter at the camp had frozen into an ice sculpture. He went into the tent only to find there was nothing but food inside. The boy, frustrated, started coughing blood. Luckily, there was a bow and arrow. The boy had to continue his journey. But ahead, a blizzard appeared. Behind them, a pack of hounds was howling. The boy and Alpha had to rush into the blizzard. Fortunately, they found a cave. The blizzard covered their scent, and the hounds didn't find them. But Alpha snarled at an animal. A tiger suddenly lunged at the boy. Alpha rushed to fight it, but his small body was no match. He was knocked down again and again, but got up every time. At the crucial moment, the boy drew his bow, shooting an arrow into the tiger. But Alpha was pinned underneath. At the boy's call, Alpha struggled out, but the next second he collapsed. Alpha was badly injured. There were no herbs here. He could only endure it. The boy decided to speed up and return to the tribe, but the fierce blizzard was slowly eroding their will. Finally, Alpha was the first to collapse. In this snowy wilderness, every bit of preserved strength meant more hope for survival. But the boy still picked up Alpha and continued their journey. After an unknown time, the snow was still endless. The boy finally reached his limit and fell asleep with Alpha. Finally, he saw the tribe ahead. The boy looked excitedly at Alpha in his arms. Then, step by step, he walked towards the tribe. His father looked in surprise at his returning son, unable to believe how he'd returned. At this moment, the boy couldn't hold on and collapsed. His father came over. Then he embraced the boy. His mother also rushed over. In his last conscious moment before fainting, the boy told his father to save Alpha quickly. When the boy woke up again, he first looked at Alpha lying on the ground. The shaman was carefully caring for Alpha. Suddenly, the shaman discovered something. She slowly lifted a wolf cub. Everyone was shocked. It turned out Alpha had been pregnant and protecting herself. The boy leaned against Alpha, gently stroking him, thanking Alpha for the journey. The first dog of humanity was thus born. Soon, the grown wolf cubs joined the tribe in hunting. They also became the strongest tribe of their time.